Hello and welcome back to the Otakuology podcast. My name's Otaku Mike, and with me, as always, is my fellow Time Patrol member, Jen. And today we are talking about a
What's up?
somewhat new series. It came out this year. Well, the anime came out this year. We are looking at TP Bond, or also known as Time Patrol Bond. This is a sci-fi anime. It is based on a manga from 1978, and it ran from 1978 to 1986. So this manga is a little bit older than I am.
I just want to include something funny.
Okay.
That I originally sent you a picture of this and said, "Hey, do you want to cover this?" before it even came out, and you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
You know,
And then like a couple weeks ago, you're like, "Hey, buddy, let's cover this." And
you know what?
like,
Okay, so
I was like, "Oh, you bastard!"
sometimes I feel like our anime tastes are so different at times with shows like you suggest versus shows like I suggest.
Yeah,
And I probably just felt like because I just saw a picture and I was like, I don't know. It probably was a bad picture. I don't know. But then like I saw the trailer like a couple days ago and I was like, oh, this kind of looks fun. And so I was like,
you
I'll
bitch!
give it a shot.
Can't believe you. I'm gonna be like, from now on, I'm gonna be like, yeah, on the mic scale, this is gonna be a 4, or this is gonna be a 2, or something like that. Like, just so I can be like, yeah, and give you a little more like bite to be like, oh, maybe I should check this out. Even though my friend's recommending it, he said it would be like a 5, like I was gonna fucking love it.
But the manga was actually written and drawn by Fujiko Fujo, which is apparently a pen name for the mangaka. He never gave his real name. And
As he should.
This has had one previous anime adaptation in 1989, an OVA, and this is actually an original net animation. So it didn't
Oh,
like
that's crazy.
premiere on like television like normal animations.
Yeah,
But this is
I can see that.
actually consists of 2 seasons of 24 episodes, I believe.
Altogether,
I think so.
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you recommended this one to me, and then I recommended this one to you, like you said. And we were looking at the first first 2 episodes
Yeah,
for Time Patrol Bond. And then next week, what are we covering next week? I forgot.
we're covering B&A.
BNA, that's what we're covering. But Time Patrol Bond, or TP Bond, starts out as we meet Bond. I believe his name is like Nishimari. I think it is.
Pass. I don't know.
N- Namihara.
Uh, there you go. That sounds right.
Bond Namihara. And we're just going to call him Bond. And Bond is like laying on this big old like sycamore like oak tree or whatever it is. It's a big tree. And he's out doing this class project. He's with his friends and they're kind of talking about like, oh man, I can't believe they like, cut this tree down. How old exactly is this tree?
Wait, are you talking about the beginning? Beginning?
Yeah, the beginning, right?
No, the beginning was his mom telling him to do his homework.
Oh, right. That's what it was.
Yeah, I was like, where are you at? Like, you're like
I,
halfway through the episode already.
I could have sworn that was what it was, but never mind. Okay. Yeah, so
Uh,
go ahead.
I got you. I'll pick up the pace.
Go ahead.
So we get him where he walks in the front door. Oh, I'm back from school, mom. Blah blah blah. And she says, "Oh, hi, Bon. You need to do your homework and work on it till 5 o'clock."
Yeah, which
And
is a very long time.
right after like getting out of school at like 2,
Yeah.
but she went in and worked on it for like 3 hours. Of course, we
Eh,
kind of get a little more of why she's that way later on, but she
Yeah.
tells him that, oh, I want you to do this, and kind of like push him forward on part of that. Um, and we get this thing where he kind of wishes, which the first episode I feel like is horrible with telling us exactly what it's about. He kind of wishes like the time would speed up, and
Yeah.
the time does speed up.
It speeds up and it goes to like nighttime.
Yeah. So in this instance, I'm like, is this guy a fucking wizard?
He's a time wizard.
He's got to be a time wizard, or like a time lord, maybe. Who knows? Doctor
I
Doolittle
love the
reference.
scene where he's like he gets his melon out of the refrigerator. He's eating his melon that
Yeah.
his mom cut up for him. He's trying to study really hard, but he like you can tell he doesn't want to study.
No.
He's just a very average Japanese boy.
Yeah.
But his mom, I feel like his mom thinks he's better than that in some ways.
And I don't think that. I think they want him to study because he is so average.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, when you get in trouble, you have to go study. When you do this, you have to go study, because they're like, studying will make him a better boy / studying will help him out in the end because he'll get better grades.
Yeah.
So I
And
think that's
he really
why.
doesn't want to do any of that, but he very much like obliges his mom and does it anyways.
Yeah. So that stuff happens. He goes outside to play because he's like, "Oh, it's already 5.
Yeah.
We can do this." I don't know how it happened, but he sees a girl with red hair wearing a helmet and goggles.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't really know more about that besides that he passed her, and just kind of continues about his night until he goes back home. And then we're at the next day,
The
which I
next
believe is like a weekend.
the next day is where he they go to the
See his
tree and
friend.
stuff.
No, he goes to see his friend.
We go see his friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
He goes to see his friend because this is the part that you jokingly told me the other day before I got to
Oh
this
yes.
part.
So yeah, he does see this girl, and he sees this little yellow thing that looks like a reject from Pac-Man. Like he catches her. He catches her
A
because she's like
reject from Pac-Man.
she's stuck on a roof.
Yeah.
She's stuck on a roof, and he like freaks out when he sees the little yellow thing floating around. She's like, "Hey, have you seen this thing?" And he's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And then he goes to his friend's house to hang out and study and whatnot, and or listen to music, I believe it is. And we find out that his friend actually failed their test recently. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Man, this is gonna suck." And he turns it into like a little paper airplane and throws it around. And he's like, "Oh, you know," and he's like, "Oh no, I gotta get it," because it starts to go out the window because he doesn't want his parents to find it. And
Which, let me touch on this real quick, because
okay,
this is the part that I was fucking confused about.
uh
Okay,
huh,
I was like, so you wadded it up into a paper airplane, and you throw it out, and it was going to the trash can,
yeah.
right? Like, to me, in my instance of any of that, I would think putting it in my trash can would also mean that my parents would have access to see it first, versus it going out into the world and me not knowing anything about it.
Well, also Japan is a very clean place,
That's true.
so they don't have like trash on the side of the road.
That's true. Who's gonna know?
You know, I don't know, but he got a complete 0 on his test.
Yeah.
And he basically kind of goes up and tries to get it, and his friend Bon, we're gonna call him his friend. I don't know if he actually is his friend. Bon goes to stop him, but he accidentally pushes him out the window,
And it's
plummeting.
fun. It's funny. I don't know. When we got to that part, I kind of see what you're talking about, because he almost did like the
He pushes him. He pushed him.
yeah, but he kind of did it in like the what is it called? Like the dance theater stuff that they do in Japan. You know what I'm talking about?
Like yeah, kind of yeah,
Kabuki.
yeah.
Yeah, so they did like he did the little kabuki thing where he's on one foot and he jumps forward, and he
Uh-huh.
just kind of kept going until he like touched his friend.
Yeah.
It pushed
Wh-
him off. So
Which he does that, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Did this really happen? Like, did this really happen?" And he technically murders his friend,
yes,
and he hits the floor, he hits the ground, and blood starts coming out. And then we hear time lock, and then the girl we saw from earlier shows up, and she goes to change time, and Bond actually remembers everything that's happened. Um, he goes back to his friend's house, gets his friend's mom, and it turns out he's like alive. His friend's alive, and he's freaking out. He doesn't really know what to do exactly. He's like, I don't know what's going on. I remember what happened. I remember he fell and he hit his head and he died. He goes back home.
right.
He goes back home, and this is where he meets our second main character.
Well, the time got rewound,
Yeah,
right?
time got rewound. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, like, the friend and the mom are like, "What is he talking about?
Yeah, they're like,
He's
man, he's been
crazy.
studying way too hard.
You died? What?"
Yeah. Yeah. And they just don't understand. They don't understand what happened. And we find out, we meet the second main character, which is Reem Stream. It's such a weird name.
I know. I feel like her name should have been Maine.
And her little yellow friend, Boyoyon. I think I just butchered that. I don't know.
I think you were right.
Probably, I don't know. And they are a part of Time Patrol.
Probably. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you. This when we get
No,
into
wait,
the
no, I
second
got it
episode.
wrong. I got it wrong.
What?
He doesn't meet them, right? First?
No, he does.
Does he meet them before he goes back to the
No,
Japan?
he meets them, but he meets them when they're passing each other on the street. Because remember, he
That's
finds the little yellow guy, and he's like, "What is that?" And he's trying to take a picture of him, and it's gone. And then he sees Reem again.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. I got the things mixed up. He finds her like hover bike thing, the
Yeah,
time boat. He finds the time boat, and he ends up going back to the past to like feudal
my bad.
Japan.
Yeah,
He goes to feudal Japan, and then he ends up almost getting killed by a bandit, but he gets
right.
out, and luckily by the skin of his teeth. Then he meets Reem, and we find out that Reem is part of the Time Patrol, which is a group of time travelers, and we find out that she was there to actually
Yeah,
save the life of Bond's friend, and we find out that Bond basically messed everything up, and that
yeah,
he is going to be erased from existence.
yeah. He knows
Right?
too much. Yeah.
And what happens next?
Well, so pointing out one thing, um, I almost kind of feel like, but so you know what this kind of reminds me of though is the group that's in Loki.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know that tries to keep everything on the time stream.
yeah. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah,
So that's what
the
that's
the
what it seems like.
TVA,
Yeah.
TVA. Yeah, I can
Now,
see that a little bit.
right now, I do want to point out though that when you watch this show, it does seem because I know you're messing up a little bit. It
Yeah,
does seem a little crazy between episodes because of how sporadic it is.
I feel like the first episode was a little sporadic.
Well, and I also feel like part of the stuff like led up to whatever you don't exactly know, and we'll get into that more with the second episode.
Yeah,
But we have this part where they go back where he's going to be erased, and he basically attacks everybody. He's like, "No, I'm not going to be erased." All this other stuff, and then he ends up waking up on the stump,
yeah,
which that's what kind of throws me off. Is part of this like almost seems like it's supposed to be a dream,
mm-hmm.
and then like it clicks back that it's not, and that's a confusing part. I feel like in this as well.
There's also a real confusing part where he goes to school the next day and he meets
Well,
himself.
this is before we're getting there, okay?
Okay.
Because we also have where they actually Reem comes and finds him and says,
Yeah.
"Hey, so we figured out the solution. We're not going to erase you. We're going to have you join the Time Patrol,"
Yeah.
which worked out better
Because apparently he like makes an impact on society, like,
in the future. Yeah,
in the future.
which
But you don't tell you what he does.
no, we're still like left in the dark on
Yeah.
that.
They don't tell you what he
Um,
does at all. 'Cause apparently, at first they thought he was like just useless and wasn't going to do anything. Because they normally, what was it? They don't stop big events from happening,
they don't stop things with people if it's a big world changing event. Yes,
but they only help people who are like, I guess, minor players in like the world
right.
or the time.
They try and like do the things where I guess it ends up with the big event.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It would be like that really weird, confusing thing on like, well, hey, if somebody is walking to this thing and this other person was supposed to trip them, but um, you caught the person before they could trip this person, so they made like a bus stop there they were supposed to do, and like go through this whole like scenario of things like
Yeah.
that's what it almost kind of seems like. One person kind of like is the influence of things that are supposed to happen.
Which they have rules and like regulations on what they can and can't do.
Yeah,
Which they can't like interfere with big world events and stuff like that. They
they
can't
can't
really
they
they
can't
can't
physically touch people.
they can't physically touch people, or which is weird. Like they can't really interact with people, but they interact with people. You
Yeah,
know?
see, and I'm confused on that part because I'm like, well, like if they're in the right air and they do that, could they not change clothes to
Yeah.
match that? Like a wandering vagabond or something like, hey, we got to do this.
I mean, they already
Um,
have like technology to like erase people's memories and stuff.
yeah, some of it seems really weird and inconsistent on part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's kind of like the whole thing. It really seems like a very like shtick, like Doctor Slump thing,
Yeah.
Doctor Slump anime because of all the stuff that happens. And I really think the artwork looks like the Yamadas, which is from
Yeah.
like
It very
old,
very much looks like that like 1970s art
yeah,
style, but with little updated, sort of updated to today's anime a little bit. Like I got sort of like Cyborg 009 vibes a little
yeah,
bit because they all had like rounder faces and their hair was more rounder, not like really spiky or anything like that.
yeah,
But I could totally get what you're saying about the Yamadas and stuff like that.
yeah.
You know?
Um, but the other thing that really caught me off guard before we move on to episode 2 was like where they talk about the whole part where they're going to erase him,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, so y'all are going to kill me, and they're like, no, we don't kill people. And then they're like, well, we're just going to make sure like your mom and your dad don't get together to conceive and have you. And it's
Yeah.
like,
He's like, you're gonna kill me.
you're killing me. And it's like, the fuck, like, man, like there's so much different stuff in this that reminds me of other things that I kind of want to be like, I wonder what influenced stuff, because there's like a movie called like About Time or something,
Yeah.
like where a guy can pop back into time and change situations, and I mean a bunch of different stuff like that, and it's like,
Yeah.
what?
I did feel like part of the first episode was a little bit confusing, a little bit,
Yeah,
with the way things were structured. I mean, we were struggling ourselves, but I do feel like it really starts to get its legs and footing with episode 2. Like
I
when they
would I would agree with that. I do feel like yes, it is a little more on that one, but I still feel like I'm in the dark on part of
I
it
mean, yeah,
too.
I still feel like I am in the dark as well, but like I feel like episode one kind of meandered a little bit
Yeah,
with like just getting going, getting starting with the story and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Um,
No, that's true. But on this next part, I think it's kind of funny side story. So last night to go to bed, I turned on Futurama, and the episode that popped up was a Christmas episode,
oh yeah,
and they have this machine that lets them go back in time. And so it's Bender and Zoidberg because they're upset that they don't get to spend Christmas with anybody,
yeah,
and they think that they set the machine to go back to last Christmas so they could kidnap Santa.
hmm,
Well, so then like the whole episode plays out, and they have this thing, and the machine pops up again after it's already been broken before. They didn't go to the past Christmas to get it; they went to future Christmas, which was like in a
uh,
few days, to get Santa and knock him out and everything. So you're just kind of like, what? But I watched that, and I felt like it gave me more understanding of watching this, if that makes sense.
I
Um,
guess, I
I mean,
guess,
especially this episode,
uh huh,
because in this episode, like started saying, where there's two hymns,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, there's two of him, and I thought it was Reem putting on like some kind of a disguise
I
or
did too, or
whatever.
maybe somebody was sitting. Maybe it was like the other guy disguised as Bond to try to kill him.
Yeah, yeah, or Po Yan Yan or
Yeah,
whatever, like whatever. I thought it was somebody else, and then we start watching the episode. Hey, meet me in the bathroom. Let's swap out.
they do
Live your
that twice. They
day.
do that twice.
Do that. Da, da, da. Well, and it's from our main Bond's perspective.
Yeah,
So like all this crap happens, and then we get it from the other side where it's actually him going back and him trying to wake himself up, and he won't get up, but then that one's running late for school, so he goes, oh, I'll go take his place. you know like that whole thing and redoing it like really was confusing to me,
it was a little confusing.
because I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. But I do like Reem. I think Reem's a fun character. I like her dynamic with Bond's dynamic with Reem. Uh and
I feel like I'm still undetermined on that.
I mean that's fine. That's fine. Like I really like her character design.
Yeah.
It very much is like retro anime feel. And I like that.
See,
Uh
and I like her and the other Galactic Patrolman guy or whatever
yeah.
they are, when they have their goggles on.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Because then whenever they take their goggles off, they just look like they have these two like big blue scientific eyes. Like the old like German style of whenever like people that were like of like Caucasian descent or whatever,
Yeah.
they all had like blonde hair and blue eyes. So that's kind of what I feel like. That kind of throws me off a little bit too, and
Yeah,
I'm
well she's
wondering,
also from the future.
if that's a trait.
I mean, she also said she was from the future, like
I
2050,
think 2051.
54 or something like that.
Yeah,
Which I would love to get into that. Like maybe they go into the future at one point.
yeah,
You know, I thought that'd be kind of cool. But it was interesting to see like their dynamic and how like Bond and her work together.
yeah.
Which we get into the next episode where they actually do end up having to go on their first official mission,
Episode
which
three.
is, huh?
Episode three.
No, episode two.
Oh, oh, okay.
Episode two.
Where am
Or
I lost at then? When was it that Poyanyan? Am I saying that right?
Boyan.
Yeah, when Boyanyan told him that he was going to have to study like 10 books of stuff.
That was in, I think, the second episode.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's throwing me off too. he told him that, and then she was like, "No, you can actually use the machines, and like where your engine part is, you open it, and you can
Mm-hmm.
just throw your books inside,
Yeah, and he
and
like,
you know it."
yeah.
So the funny thing on that is, it reminded me of Lock and Key, where they have the
Oh
mine
yeah.
key, and you can throw whatever you want into the mine key, and like, here it is. Now you know how to do this.
Yeah, because they do that in like episode 3. Because I watched a little ahead, and like he
Okay,
like puts this thing on his head, and he like learns everything they needs to learn.
that
Which
was
is
in
which
episode
is a
2.
smart, which is kind of
Yeah,
smart. I feel like
yeah,
in a way, but Reem ends up showing up in Bond's room, and she's like, "Hey, we got this mission to go on." And he's like, "Oh, do I have to go?" She's like, "No, you don't really have to go." Which I think she kind of tricks him into going. I feel like by
yeah,
saying, "No, you don't have to go." And he's like,
yeah,
"Wait, I have to go. I'm part of the Time Patrol."
yeah,
And so they end up going back to Japan, 1947. It's 2 years after World War II. And they have
yeah,
to go save this woman from this horrific flood. Her name is Miss Yamada. And they end up getting to the time period, 1947. And they're trying to figure out where exactly Miss Yamada is, which it takes them a while to actually find her somewhat. And
yes,
they get to her, and they're like, this is where we find out like they can't like physically touch people.
yeah,
They can't physically like remove people from the situation. And they go up to her and they're like, hey, there's gonna be a big storm. We gotta get out of here. She's like, oh no, I'm not gonna go anywhere. My son's gonna come back. I went to go wait for him on the train, but he didn't show up and whatnot. And she's just going to stay hunkered down in her home, like most old people do when storms happen.
yeah,
I feel like this part, and they like, okay, well, we got to find her son. We'll bring her son to her, and they find him. He's stuck at like a factory or something like that. He's stuck in the back of a van or a truck
yeah,
because he's trying to get home, but he's stuck. And he's sleeping in the back of the truck. And so what do they do is they physically pick up the truck with the time boat, which is
yeah.
where I'm kind of hazy on the time rules, the time patrol rules, because they physically pick him up with their technology and they move him.
Well, so this is what I understand. So, and it's stupid. Like, I agree with you. I feel like it's stupid. But they have um there's the rule where they can't physically touch somebody. And so whenever they started, like with the old lady on Miss Yamada, when they started knocking on her house, I was like,
Yeah,
is that not like you influencing like the outcome? Like, you know. Well, so then whenever they did this and they picked up the truck, and I was like, oh, maybe they just can't like. And then when they went and did this thing where
he wakes up at one point.
yeah, because of the rain, and they froze him, and then they put him in the water, which because
Yeah,
he was on higher ground. And then this part where Miss Yamato was stuck in a tree, and she was stuck because of a branch, and Bond jumps in to go basically like break the branch.
he physically like picks her up.
No, they use the little thing to pick her up.
I thought he kind of like moves her, like moves the branches and stuff, and then gets
He
her.
does move the branch, but he doesn't touch her.
Okay.
And that's the other part that I'm confused
Yeah, they
on
move
too.
her to
Is like,
somewhere safer.
if you're not supposed to be able to like really physically touch them, like, are we like literally with every other thing we've seen in this show so far? And we're only on episode 2.
Yeah.
With all this stuff that we've seen so far, and these rules that we know, is it so literal with the stuff?
I don't know.
I mean, obviously so, because they couldn't touch her.
Yeah.
But, and I think there's the part where the sun's in the truck. I really think that they didn't put the light around it like they did before, but I think they really turned the truck around where he could see his mom.
I think they did.
But there wasn't a light or anything on it for it to let us know like that's what they did.
Or maybe it was like, maybe it got turned by the water.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. It was kind of weird that that it would have
Yeah.
happened that way.
No, I get you. Yeah. And they end up saving her.
Yeah,
They end up saving her and they end up reuniting uh her
Leah Mama's,
son and mom, mother and son, And you get like a nice little happy ending.
you do, you
And it,
do.
like we end up going on to the next episode basically, you know.
Well, we get where he goes back, and then it kind of gives us a little throwback with his
Oh
mom,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and he's like, "Oh yeah, job well done. I did it. We accomplished this. We got the family back together." And then his mom's like, "How ungrateful do you think you are? Me and your dad take care of stuff all day, and you come back
Oh
all
yeah.
muddy and
He
think
used to come
that
all
this."
muddy and stuff. Yeah, and
Yeah,
he goes down to like the kitchen, and he thinks something's wrong. He thinks like maybe he got like this is where he gets like he thinks he's erased from time.
no, that's in
Okay,
the
okay,
first one.
that's the first episode. Okay, I'm getting my
Yeah,
maps
no,
confused then.
because the end of this one is her yelling at him, and then to punish him, she's like, "You're gonna sit here and you're gonna do homework."
Yeah,
And then that's where this episode ends.
that's right. Episode.
Yeah, you're thinking about in the first one about the midpoint where he thinks he gets erased, and then his mom walks into the next room, and he's like, "Oh my god, my mom's gone."
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, but all
Yeah.
in all, like, what did you think of these first two episodes?
Buddy,
Do you want to continue the series or not?
I'm not a quitter. We're gonna continue the series, but I'm gonna tell you, I didn't have a lot of fun with this series.
Okay, so
Not
I'll give my thoughts.
not yet, anyway. I mean, I feel like we should finish it no matter what, but I also feel like I can't put a good staple in it until
Yeah,
we watch 3 and 4.
I
Before I'm
feel
just like, "Hey, Mike, so every time we record for the show now, I need you to be the beacon of light and positivity because I'm going to be Debbie Downer, okay?"
so like I mean there are parts that I didn't like. I feel like I didn't like a lot of the 3D CG implements into this. But then also I feel like it kind of added character because it's kind of, influenced by like the manga from the 70s and stuff. So like, I like the design of like the technology and like their clothes and stuff that they wear and whatnot, the time patrols and stuff.
Yeah,
They even had like a gun like Cyborg 009 did, like that, like the gun style, the blaster and stuff.
yeah,
Um but I do feel like the first episode was a little slow. I enjoyed what I watched. Maybe because I was like, oh, I like the character design and stuff like that. I didn't think Bond was like that annoying.
yeah,
It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun to see them use their brains to figure out situations other than like punching something in the face, normally.
yeah.
Like I felt like it was a different type of anime. I wasn't like 100% like the best anime ever. No, it was not. I
Right.
feel like it could possibly be like a mid tier anime. Like it's good, but it has flaws.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm going to say a low mid tier
Okay, I mean that's fine. That's fine.
only because I feel like things could be laid out a little differently.
Probably.
Because I mean, like the problem that you kind of had with part of it. Well, I guess I had it with episode 2. Was how the stuff is laid out, and it's nothing really. But I would say basically that just like it's confusing.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think it's confusing in the sense, though, of how it's laid out. I think it could be laid out a little better. I also think that part of the other stuff with that um, could be better. I agree with you on the design.
Uh-huh.
Um, most of the designs of the things, or like the boat, the time boat things,
Yeah.
I think the time boats are really cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Um,
It looks almost like a speeder from Star Wars or like a
it
hover bike.
does. It does.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one that they have the little boat things with the wings underneath them?
Um I forget. I forget what it's like for Return of the Jedi.
No, no, it's in like an anime. They have these little boat things, and they look like they have like dragonfly wings on them. But when they turn them on, it's underneath the boat,
Oh, I have no idea. I don't
and
know.
they stand on top of it. And there's like two little gear thingies.
I don't know.
Um, or like the little, they have another little boat thing like that in like Howl's Moving Castle. So
Yeah. Like I thought I like the technology and stuff. I
yeah,
find it interesting that they have to go help people.
yeah,
It very much reminded me of like Quantum Leap, which was like a time travel show
yeah.
back in the 80s where like they would go into the person's body and have to help somebody in that time to get back
Okay,
out. Yeah. So that's what it kind of reminded me of, like this sending them on mission stuff. I
yeah,
am interested to see where this show actually goes
yeah,
and how much they do play with like time travel tropes and stuff.
yeah.
Like I didn't 100% hate this show. I felt like the
I mean,
first
a bonus for me is that I did feel like there was a lot of other um, pop culture things that you could
yeah,
almost pull from it. You know,
yeah,
like I said, Doctor Who, Lock and Key, like all these other things that it kind of seemed like conglomerately. You could go, oh well, that could be pulled, like that was an idea for it or something like that,
yeah,
or like they pulled it from this, since it came out first. Um, so I mean, I'd say that's like a bonus
yeah.
kind
And
of
I
thing.
also it looked interesting. Like they looked like they were going to be going to like different cultures as well in different
Hopefully.
parts of the world. Because like in the third episode, they go to Egypt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're like it looks like they're not just sticking to like Japan, which
Yeah,
I find to be more interesting because we do get like those different cultures
yeah,
through the eyes of Japan, but we get to
yeah.
see those different cultures.
Right.
Because
Um.
in the next episode, they have to like stop this guy from building a pyramid
Okay.
because he gets like trapped in the pyramid and dies.
Oh no.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like things like that. I'm interested to see where the story goes. Did it start out 100% strong? No, but it kept me interested.
See, and I feel like it started out stronger than it ended with episode two. So
Okay.
I mean, I felt like we had more like ground that we understood in episode one,
Yeah.
and getting to episode two, them telling us like these rules and stuff, and then it's like, to my understanding, this rule would be blah 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 blah, and then like we watched the episode and it's like, is that not exactly what it is? So just some stuff like that,
No, I
and it
get you.
and it just being kind of confusing. I mean, my current problem, I would say, is the that, and I don't think anything's. I think items in it are memorable. I think the little yellow guy is memorable. I think the time boats are memorable. I think the characters' outfits and stuff are memorable. As
Yeah.
far as that goes, though, I don't feel like the episodes were really memorable.
Probably because
Episode
I only watched
episode
each
one,
episode
maybe,
once.
yeah, maybe episode one was more memorable. With the friend getting pushed out of the window and things like
Yeah.
that. But for sure, like episode two, like I don't, I don't know, and it feels like both of them kind of happened at the same time, or could have happened at the same
Yeah.
time, and so it's just like there's a lot of
It
stuff.
It very much kind of blended together.
Yes.
I mean, I
So
probably should have rewatched the episode before we started recording again.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you might have screwed yourself over even more.
I don't
So,
know.
but
Like, I didn't hate the show.
yeah. But like I said, I'm not a quitter.
You're not a quitter.
I'll give it 3 and 4 to like really have a good determination on it
Yeah.
before I just go like complete like Debbie Downer on it. But like, who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
there could be something good that comes out of it. There could be something that comes out even more confusing about it. Like, you and I both like Dr. Slump, and that was one of the problems I had with that. So I'm not saying that it's not really salvageable, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I pointing out things from like what we've talked about and everything, I would say or tell somebody that you may need to watch the episodes a couple times to have everything click with you and understandable slash go into it also realizing like you need to make sure that you're watching every little thing,
Yeah.
because at any point you could have Reem pop in, you could have the little yellow guy pop in, you could have the other guy in the green suit pop in, or you could have Bond pop in even though we follow him, and you not exactly know who it is,
Yeah,
whether
I can
it's
see that.
the Bond that we know, or is it future Bond, or is it past Bond, or other things like that. So
There was one scene that I actually thought was really funny.
yeah,
Was I think he like gets knocked out or something like that. I don't remember what exactly it is. And we think I thought he like maybe traveled to the future or something
yeah.
at one point because he was on an airplane and you don't really see his face, but
Oh,
he
where
did
he's
some.
daydreaming.
Yeah, where he's daydreaming. I
Yeah,
thought maybe we saw like a jump in time or something.
I thought we were seeing what was going to get led up to in time, and then he
Yeah,
woke up, and I was like, "The fuck? Why would you add that in here?"
yeah,
Like,
no, I get you.
it's already a very confusing thing, and to get that aspect of it as well, and then have past and present, like the jump around parts, like
Yeah,
it's a pain in the butt.
yeah, I know.
So, but yeah, so I mean, I guess we'll have to stay tuned for next time.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
But as always, guys, Mike's gonna pimp us out, and then I'm gonna say see you next Tuesday.
So yeah, you can catch us on all major podcast platforms. Catch us on our Instagram at Talkology Podcast, on Blue Sky at Talkology Podcast. Recommend a show. We did get a recommendation to cover an anime recently. We got
We did. Well, which one was it?
the anime was My Happy Marriage. I think that's what it was called.
Okay.
So we did get a recommendation to watch. I believe it was called My Happy Marriage from a listener, and we will be covering that eventually. We do not take your recommendations at all, but we're going to continue with this, and then the other show that Jen recommended. But yeah,
DNA
B&A. We'll talk about B&A,
next time.
and we'll see you next Tuesday.
As well as next time we do this, maybe we have to do our ending first and then do our opener at the beginning.
Maybe.